Oh, hey, that was unexpected. We didn't get a countdown. I'm Sheila Gunn Reid.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Yes, good
I'm
afternoon and good day.
I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. You're watching the Rebel Roundup. It's our daily news and opinion show, and you just saw my friend Lise Merle, my co-host on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, but so often my co-host in many of my antics. Lise Merle from Regina, Saskatchewan. Lise, how's it going?
Well, it couldn't be better in Saskatchewan today. Our conversations are centered around one thing and one thing over only, and that's Saskatchewan sovereignty. And I can't wait to get into what Danielle Smith said yesterday. She dropped a hammer on the federal government, and well deserved. I mean, this is going to be a real interesting time for Western Canada, Sheila. And we've been calling this for years. We've been
Yeah.
conjuring this for years.
Yeah, and all the usual suspects, whom Danielle Smith warned of yesterday, are coming out to say, like, this is un-Canadian, this is un-Albertan, these are traitors. She specifically addressed these predictable losers last night or yesterday afternoon, depending on when you watched it. So we'll get to that. We'll tell everybody what we're doing. So, as I'm sure you have figured out by now, this is a completely unscripted news and opinion show. Sometimes we're coming in cold. Like, for example, I threw a couple of items in our last little bit of the show, which is the daily cringe. I have 2 items. Maybe we'll see which one makes us cringe worse. But I haven't watched them yet, so we're going to watch them together. And this is a great opportunity for you to have your say. I like to say we are democratizing the news. So if you're watching us over on Rumble, thank you for sticking it out on a really excellent free speech platform. They really do care about your human right to speak your mind unmolested by the government. You can support our work over there because, as you know, we'll never take a penny from Mark Carney to do the work that we do through something called a Rumble Rant. That's their paid chat. If it's over the $5 US cutoff, we are making it mandatory. We'll read it on air. If it's under that amount, we'll do our best to get to it, time permitting, although we do our very best to make time for you because we know that you choosing to support us is important because without you, there's no Rebel News. On YouTube, we are recently remonetized over there. I don't know how long that's going to last, but if you prefer to watch us over there, I get it. It's intuitive. You can leave us a super chat over there. Same rules apply, but there's another way that you can support us too, and that's through a super thanks. That's their paid chat. So if you're watching the recorded version of the show, you can support us that way too. So you don't have to tune in live to support us here at Rebel News. We've got a couple of different ways that you can do that. So let's get into, I'm just scrolling back up to the top of our list here. Carney is meeting with Trump today, and sounds like Trump really was like, I'm not sure what our meeting's about. Which I thought was like, man.
He called, and the guy from Canada called, and he said he's coming over for lunch, and I'm not sure what he wants, but okay. That's Trump's response, like treating Mark Carney just like a trick-or-treater. Like, I don't know really why he's here.
But you would at least know why the trick-or-treaters are knocking on your door, right?
That's true. It's true. Ooh, I can't wait to get into this.
Okay, so we've got President Trump and Canada's Liberal Prime Minister Mark Carney meet in the White House for the first time after months of tariffs and Canada's federal leadership changes. Let's watch. Maybe this is my daily dose of cringe. I'm already anxious because I'm worried about how our osteoporotic Prime Minister, who thinks he's smarter than everybody else, is going to react to Trump, because Trump is rough around the edges, but he is also, I mean, look at the place. Fancy as all get out. And he, he's unimpressed by a banker, like you just know he is. So let's hear what he has to say.
Okay.
Thank you very much, everybody. It's a great honor to have Prime Minister Mark Carney with us. As you know, just a few days ago, he won a very big election in Canada. And I think I was probably the greatest thing that happened to him, but I can't take full credit. His party was losing by a lot, and he ended up winning. So I really want to congratulate him. It was probably one of the greatest comebacks in the history of politics maybe even greater than mine. But I want to just congratulate you. That was a great election, actually. We were watching it with interest, and I think Canada chose a very talented person, a very good person, because we spoke before the election quite a few times. And it's an honor to have you at the White House in the Oval Office. And you see the new and improved Oval Office as it becomes more and more beautiful with love. You know, we handle it with great love and 24-karat gold. That always helps too. Right? But it's been a lot of fun. We're going over some of the beautiful pictures that were stored in the vaults that were for many, many years, in some cases over 100 years. They were stored in vaults of the great presidents, or almost great presidents, all having a reason for being up, every one of them. So it's very interesting. But I just want to congratulate you, and ran a really great race. I watched the debate. I thought you were excellent, and I think we have a lot of things in common. We have some tough points to go over, and that'll be fine. We're going to also be discussing Ukraine, Russia, the war, because Mark wants it ended as quickly as I do. I think it has to end. Mark, would you like to say a few words?
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I'm on the edge of my seat, actually. But thank you for your hospitality and above all for your leadership. You're a transformational president. Focus on the economy with a relentless focus on the American worker, securing your borders, ending the scourge of fentanyl and other opioids, and securing the world. And I've been elected with my colleagues here, with the help of my colleagues here. I'm going to spread the credit to transform Canada with a similar focus on the economy, securing our borders, again on fentanyl, much greater focus on defense and security, securing the Arctic and developing the Arctic. And you know, the history of Canada and the U.S. is we're stronger when we work together, and there's many opportunities to work together. And I look forward to, addressing some of those issues that we have, but also finding those areas of mutual cooperation so we can go forward.
That's great. Very nice. Thank you very much. It's a very nice statement.
Well,
okay, I'm full of things to say, but at Mark Carney, he was probably like, okay, what did cheating off Polyev, like, oh, we're gonna stop the scourge of fentanyl. Would you mind quit giving opioids to people? Could we start there? We're gonna secure the borders. You guys are the ones that destroyed the border, and protecting the Arctic. Like, that is, Polyev made that announcement in the Arctic. You're a cheater.
These are things that we have never, ever, ever heard Mark Carney say ever.
He didn't campaign on this stuff.
This is Mark Carney, chief butt kisser of President Donald Trump. Like, this is Carney kissing his butt. But this is completely new to Canadians. We never heard this in the campaign. This was not part of the conversation. As a matter of fact, Mark Carney was antagonistic and awful and ran on an anti-Trump platform. Does Trump not remember that? He literally...
No, I think he does. I think he's being a chaos goblin again, where he's now he's elected. The Conservative is going to win his seat handedly. We're probably going to be back at election within, I suspect, maybe 2 years. And so let me just sow some chaos, sprinkling the chaos around like Johnny Appleseed and saying like, oh, you're the guy. I really like you. We have a lot of things in common. Right. Because I think he knows that being called Trumpy in Canada, at least to the sweater set types, are like, that is lethal. And so he's sort of making it like, he's my guy now. So I don't know what end Trump would do this, except that he's just a chaos goblin on the best of days towards the rest of the world.
Right. And the truth will be, like, the proof is going to be in the pudding, which is going to come after, when he's asked about the meeting, right? Like, he's being really conciliatory right now and being really friendly neighbor, but it's going to come out in the interviews after the meeting. So we'll see what Trump has to say. That's when we're going to get the real goods.
Right. Let's skip ahead to Donald Trump's Truth Social post about the meeting. Because he talks about this. He says, and this is to your point, that we need to listen to after what happens. So you already heard what Howard Lutnick thinks of us. And you like, of course, and Trump is trying to be a good host, right? Like he's like, and this is my nice new furniture, and he's giving like the real estate tour of the White House.
Enjoy the 24 karat gold trim that we've installed in the Oval Office recently. Like he's pulling a Trump Tower reveal in the Oval Office.
Right.
It's kind of awesome. It's kind of awesome.
Right. So basically saying like you might be like a billionaire banker with globalist connections, but I don't care because right behind me is a 24 karat gold eagle. You think I care? Like that's what that was about. But this is. Oh, skip ahead. Let's go to what Trump had to say. He said, I look forward to meeting with the new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. I very much want to work with him, but I can't understand one simple truth. Why is America subsidizing Canada by $200 billion a year, in addition to giving them free military protection and many other things? We don't need their cars. We don't need their energy. I disagree. You do need our energy. Otherwise, you don't have your refineries are fit for our kind of oil. So you can get it from us or you can get it from Venezuela, and I'm pretty sure you don't want it from Venezuela. And many other things. We don't need anything they have other than their friendship, which hopefully we will always maintain. They, on the other hand, need everything from us. The Prime Minister will be arriving shortly, and that will be most likely my only question of consequence.
So they're going to start negotiating on the tariffs, like right now, is what Trump is saying. He's going to start this negotiation with Mark Carney, and we'll see how Mark Carney stands up to the toughest big schwinger in the entire world.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't have a lot of confidence. I saw the wee little clip of Mark Carney arriving at the White House.
He looks so frail. He looks so frail. He looks like a little old lady.
With his little convex back. Somebody corrected me as a convex.
He's got shrimp posture. Like he's got the posture of a shrimp.
Yes. Little crustacean arriving at the White House. Oh, this like his fist pump gives me secondhand cringe to no end. Like is level 10 monkey see, monkey do. Just wait. Because so then Trump will do a little fist pump. Watch. And here goes Carney. Oh, like
Stop
I want to die. I just want to die. Like it's actually so embarrassing. So anyway, I just saw that little piece. I was like, okay, well,
it's like all the energy that he had. He has to go lay down now in the Oval Office because he's like
little weak fist. What happened to your elbows up, loser? What happened to that? I mean, that was a pretty weak. That was a pretty weak elbows up, if I must say so myself.
And do you not think for a second that JD Vance is full of intel, thanks to Jamil Javani, about how this should all go?
I love this so much that we have a guy on the inside, like who is best buddies. So Jamil Javani, for anybody that doesn't know, Jamil Javani and JD Vance were roommates in university. So they are very tight. They've got a real tight relationship. And I just can't wait to see how this plays out, because of course Trump would have all of that intel. Like, of course he would.
Yeah. Let's go to Howard Lutnick.
Let's.
Howard
Lutnick. Love Lutnick.
He's so fun. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, who does have a very good relationship, I think, with Premier Danielle Smith, whom we'll get to in a little bit. He has called Canada a socialist regime. And I would like someone to tell me, where's the lie? He's says, can we make a deal with Canada? Maybe we have a clip of this. I don't know. But he told Fox Business Network's Larry Kudlow, I think it's really complex. I mean, this is really complex because they have been basically feeding off us for decades upon decades upon decades, right? They have their socialist regime, and it's basically feeding off America. I mean, the president calls it out all the time. Suckling.
Feeding. Calls us a parasite. And it's like, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Why do we make our films in Canada? Come on. So I think it's going to be a fascinating meeting. I'm glad I'm going to be there listening, but it's going to be a fascinating meeting tomorrow. I just don't see how it works out so perfect. Anyway. Yeah, that's sort of they also basically said we're going to repatriate our film manufacturing.
Yes.
So, I mean, I don't know why they're doing it in Canada. I mean, we have all these locations that could double as any place in the United States. And they can do it for like 30 to 50% less thanks to our pathetic dollar. So I get why they film here for sure. But I also get why Trump wants to bring it home.
Yeah, a lot of jurisdictions in Canada have invested a great many millions of dollars into developing our film sector.
Bragg Creek, south of Calgary. It doubles as every Western town anywhere, right? Like this is how it is.
Regina has one of the most technologically advanced sound stages in the world, and Trump is putting a stop to that. So it's bad for Canada, but Trump did run on an America First platform, and he's got people like Mel Gibson and John Voight in his back pocket saying we need to bring the film industry back to Hollywood. Right. Like Hollywood is famous for making movies, and other than the sign, it's cheaper to fly an entire crew to Romania or to Canada or to wherever to film because of the regulatory burdens on American film production. So this will be really interesting to watch unfold too.
Yeah, like some of your most popular shows, many of them were filmed in Vancouver because Vancouver can double for a lot of places. I mean, this is decades worth of a problem though. This started with the X-Files. X-Files was filmed in Vancouver, in and around Vancouver.
30 years ago. Sure. Yeah.
Okay, let's move ahead. Melanie Joly. Now look at these guys all sucking up to Trump now that their anti-Trump stance won them the election with boomers. And again, I have to preface this by saying, if you are a David Menzies boomer, don't write me a letter. I'm not talking about you. But anyways, now
we love the conservative boomers. Yeah,
they're the best. Foreign Minister Melanie Joly privately praised the United States for taking a hard stand on drugs. That's the hard stand on drugs that her government was unwilling to take. And if you took it, then you would not care about the suffering of the addicts. Well, I care about the suffering of their families at the end of the day, if I had to choose. She said this after Trump threatened 25% tariffs in the name of border security, records show. The comments were at odds with cabinet's public statements and were scripted in notes for a Mar-a-Lago conference. These people, this makes it abundantly clear that being anti-Trump was an election choice because it would appeal to a very certain demographic who fell for it.
Well, it was an election lie. That's right.
Yeah,
that's exactly right. It was an election lie. The duplicity that they're showing here, the Liberal Party of Canada, and this will be no surprise to our viewers that the Liberals are duplicitous in almost everything they do, that what they say and what they do are almost always at odds with each other, and they can't be trusted to follow through on what they say they're going to do, or the meaning behind it. When they say, just for an example, medical assistance in dying. I mean, when they talk about that, it's not to relieve the suffering of Canadians. It's to make it cheaper for them to operate. Everything they say has a double meaning that should be inspected. And this is just another example.
Okay, we've got more Trump clips.
Ooh, let's go.
Our team is cutting them as they go.
Okay.
They're asked about the 51st state with Carney sitting right there. He says,
get ready.
I'm ready. You know what? I don't think the entire country could be the 51st state. I don't think Trump would want it. I have my own opinions. And then we have an editorial position at Rebel News, which is like, we don't take an opinion, except this will be a place where people who can share their opinions without being told to shut up and treated as fringe radicals or as seditionists, as Mark Carney would probably label them. But Carney deserves every little bit of this.
Yes.
Mr. Prime Minister, I'd like to get your response to this too. But Mr. President, you had said that Canada should become the 51st state.
Yeah. No. Well, I still believe that, but takes two to tango, right? But no, I do. I mean, I believe it would be a massive tax cut for the Canadian citizens. You get free military, you get tremendous medical cares and other things. There would be a lot of advantages, but it would be a massive tax cut. And it's also a beautiful, as a real estate developer, I'm a real estate developer at heart. When you get rid of that artificially drawn line, somebody drew that line many years ago with like a ruler, just a straight line right across the top of the country. When you look at that beautiful formation when it's together, I'm a very artistic person, but when I looked at that beauty, I said, that's the way it was meant to be. But, I do feel it's much better for Canada. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now, Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build together. And we have done that in the past. And part of that, as the president just said, is with respect to our own security. And my government is committed for a step change in our investment in Canadian security and our partnership. And I'll say this as well, that the president has revitalized international security, revitalized NATO, and us playing our full weight in NATO, and that will be part of it.
And they have, I must say, Canada is stepping up the military participation because Mark knew, they were low and now they're stepping it up, and that's a very important thing. But never say never.
Sure. Never say never.
Never say never.
There's something quite exquisite about Mark Carney having to sit there and suck on his teeth while Trump tells him that Canadian taxes are too high, that your healthcare system is crappy, and your military is totally decrepit and in disrepair. And he had to sit there and take it and just stare at the sky and suck on his teeth.
Just bite his tongue. Because Mark Carney is the type of man who is accustomed to being listened to when he says things. And so in that situation, it was extraordinarily uncomfortable for him to listen to Trump say that. But that he said Canada is not for sale. Again, you're there to sell our products. You're there to sell our products. So maybe think of a new line. And it's really interesting what's happening next door in Alberta and in Saskatchewan, the conversations that we're having. I don't think Mark Carney is 100% on point with that statement.
No,
I think that a great many Westerners are looking for some friendly conversations between us and our American neighbors right now. So
you could tell that he was carefully coached, Mark Carney, to not say anything that might engage J.D. Vance. I think that he was coached to not do anything that might invite the Zelensky treatment upon him, because it went well until J.D. Vance had enough of Zelensky's baloney. And he was like, you know what? Trump's being nice, but I won't be. I'm going to get involved. And so I think Carney was very carefully coached to just
tiptoeing. Yes, tiptoe around.
Stick to the same 5 lines and like wrap it up if that man on the couch across from you even looks at you wrong. Evacuate the room. I think that's what he was told, because you could tell he was real careful there.
Yeah, tread very carefully, Mark Carney.
We've got one more clip, I guess. They're talking about the tariffs ahead of negotiations with the White House. And then I think that's all the Trump clips we have for now.
Okay.
I'm saying that what would it take to get the tariffs off of Canada?
Well, we'll be talking about different things. Like, we want to protect our automobile business, and so does Mark. But we want to make the automobiles, and we want to, we have a tremendous abundance of energy, more than any country. We have just in Alaska alone, Anwar's been reopened now. Anwar's probably the largest find anywhere in the world. They say it's larger than Saudi Arabia. I don't know, but it's a lot. But we have tremendous amounts of energy. Other countries don't. We're both lucky in that way. They have energy. We have energy. We have more than we can ever use and more than we could ever sell, actually. And you have the same thing. So we're two countries that are very lucky. If you look at China, they don't have that. You know, it's a big disadvantage. Other countries, most countries don't have. You know, most countries don't have that. So Canada and us, we have a lot of advantages over other places.
When you consider what Mr. Carney just said, that Canada is not for sale, does this make the discussion a little more difficult to start on?
No, not at all. No, not at all. No, time will tell. It's only time. But I say, never say never. I've had many, many things that were not doable, and they ended up being doable, and only doable in a very friendly way. But if it's to everybody's benefit, you know, Canada loves us and we love Canada. That's, I think, the number one thing that's important. But we'll see. I mean, over time, we'll see what happens.
Time is on his side, too, by the way. And, like, again, Mark Carney's going to just sit there and take it. And I enjoy every little bit of this.
Me too. Ooh, to see him in a hot seat there with that absolute tsunami of press. Like, what a room to be in. Like, ooh, that would be uncomfortable for Mark Carney or any person visiting from abroad.
I enjoyed that. I know there are other clips coming in. Some of them are a little long. Maybe we could just show the first little bit. Olivia, I don't know if you see that. Maybe we'll get to it later. Trump basically tells they're talking about the tariffs again, and he says it's just the way it is. And like basically telling Carney, thanks for coming. Thanks for looking at my gold-plated home and my new artwork that I put out on the wall for you to come visit so I could show off how unimpressed I am by you. But there's nothing really that Canada can do to lift tariffs against us. And so I'm not sure what everybody's doing there except Mark Carney subjecting himself to public humiliation.
A public humiliation ritual. I wonder if he lifts his elbows. Like, I wonder if he shows his elbows off in that moment. Well, here's my response, sir.
Yeah.
That's right.
Goofy man. Just cringy. Okay. Do we have, yes, we do. We have a couple of chats. Oh, Olivia found it. Okay. Let's show just the first little bit of this. It's almost 5 minutes long. I know that's too long to show, but hopefully we can get to where Trump says, it's just the way it is. Is my pocket dirty? No, it's just falling off. Okay. Let's, it's just old. Okay. Let's watch this.
Please hold.
Please.
What changes would you like to see to the USMCA? Or what changes would you like to make?
We're going to work on some subtle changes, maybe. I don't even know if we're going to be dealing with the USMCA. We're dealing more with concepts right now. Look, right now, we're doing trade. We have trade. They're paying a tariff on cars and steel and aluminum. And I think we have a baseline of 10% or something like that for the tariffs. But we're getting along very well. Right now, going no further, but we have an agreement. We did something with even parts. You want to discuss that, Howard, with respect to Canada, which helps Canada out?
Sure. So we've made an arrangement with the car companies that 15% of their USMCA parts are included, and then 15% of foreign parts from the manufactured suggested retail price are not tariffed to help domestic manufacturing really thrive.
So it gave them a chance to be able to build their car parts factories if they're going to. A lot of these companies already have factories, and what they have to do is just fill them out. But they're able to build them in the United States, so we gave them a pretty substantial period of time.
Just to clarify, Mr. President, is there anything the Prime Minister can say to you today to change your mind on tariffing Canada?
Tariffing cars?
Tariffing Canada. Is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that would get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
What's your first thing? If Canadians don't want it, would you respect that?
Sure I would. But this is not necessarily a one-day deal. This is over a period of time they have to make that decision. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may. Respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st day. Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes they've made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world. And to your question about is there one thing? No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved. And this will take some time and some discussions, and that's why we're here, to have those discussions, and that is represented by who's sitting around the table.
See, the conflict is, and this is very friendly. We're not. This is not going to be like we had another little blow up with somebody else. That was a much different. This is a very friendly conversation.
JD.
But we want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada, and we put tariffs on cars from Canada. And at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves.
Sucking his teeth again.
We, because of past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us, and there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada's a place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said, that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me. And I said, that's a strange answer, but I understand his answer. But no, I mean, it's hard to justify subsidizing Canada to the tune of maybe $200 billion a year. We protect Canada militarily, and we always will. We're not going to, that's not a money thing. But we always will. But, it's not fair. But why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year, or whatever the number might be? It's a very substantial number. And it's hard for the American taxpayer to say, gee whiz, we love doing that. Thank you very much. We're going to have a very substantive. Thank you very much.
Okay, I think that's good. Carney didn't even get to respond to that.
Not even a word in edgewise. They didn't even give him a word to get in edgewise. Not even.
And then they're like, the journalist starts screaming, and Trump is like, okay, and that's it. And did you see JD Vance just laughing the whole way through?
Just leaning back and watching it unravel. But what's really interesting in this is that Trump talks about tariffing cars and steel and aluminum. These are all Ontario's industries. Yeah. And this is thanks to Doug Ford's antagonistic and absolutely tone-deaf response in the run-up to the federal election, that the people of Ontario are being punished for Doug Ford's bad moves. And I think increasingly, more and more every day, the people of Ontario are realizing just what a huge mistake that was, to put a bloviating, grandstanding Doug Ford in front of cameras to crap talk the United States, when Ontario workers very, very much need to be in the good graces of the administration of the United States right now.
Yeah,
so
and
that's really interesting.
As I said to David the other day, Windsor, at least portions of it went blue. So the people affected by the auto tariffs actually thought that the Conservatives were the right ones to help them get around it. Mm-hmm. For all those people who voted for Carney because they thought that he was the right man to fight Trump, he couldn't even get a word in edgewise. They laughed at him to his face in there. And Trump just said, it's just the way it is. Those tariffs are staying. So
is there any one thing Canada could do? Nope. Nope.
Have fun. So good job. Good job,
Yep, way to go.
Ontario liberal boomers. Okay, I've got a couple of chats to read, and then we'll take an ad break, I guess, a Rebel News ad break. Lots of D's and lots of O's there. Gives us $10 and says, I watched the Trump-Carney meeting. Carney just sat there smiling like an idiot as Trump called him down. I know. Claimed he doesn't need anything from Canada and how Trump intends to ruin our economy. Yeah. They didn't even respect Carney enough to allow him to respond to what Trump had just said. That's what the administration thinks of Carney.
Nope. They just this is it's for what is the word I'm searching for, Sheila? It's just smoke and mirrors to show that they're okay. Well, he wanted to come. We let him in the building, but we're going to run the show. We're just going to run the show.
Right.
Doesn't matter what this
basically
from
he's
Canada
saying,
says.
It feels more like pity. It's deferential respect that feels like pity, and it might be pity, where he's like, and respectfully, your military sucks, your taxes are too high, and people are dying in your hospitals. Like, like respectfully. There's respectfully, there's nothing that you can do to stop what we are doing to your economy. Respectfully. And even when Carney says, well, Canada's not for sale, Trump doesn't even respect it. Time will tell. This takes time.
Right.
This takes time. And
we're and while Carney is saying Canada is not for sale, Trump is also telling him that they don't need our lumber. They don't need the products that we produce. They don't need it. Like they're going to do it themselves. So what do we need you for, Canada? Like what are you trying to? What's your flex here? And the truth is, Canada doesn't have a flex here. We don't.
Well, no, the West does, because we have all the oil and the energy. But we
have all the potash. We have all the uranium. We have the West has everything the United States wants. Ontario, well, looks like you guys just decimated your own industries out there in Ontario. Thanks, Doug. Again, thanks, Doug.
Canada's not for sale, but would you mind buying our cars?
All of our things.
Good strategy.
Good messaging.
Yeah. P. Schofield, $10 says, ladies, your facial expressions are priceless. Good to see Carney with his face well planted. Yeah.
Thank you.
We've got some more. Says, good work, ladies. $2.79. Mistaken mishaps, $5. Canada voted for a clown and the world sees us as a circus. Good job, liberals. I hope it was worth it to own the haters. And yeah, you didn't own the haters, did you? No. You just got somebody sucking up to Trump, and Trump being treating him as like the pathetic fool that he is. We respect it. He did. If you were picking on Carney, it would feel like bullying almost. It wouldn't look great. So Trump is the social media president. He's also the reality TV president. He's very aware of how that can come across when you have this broken man who holds actually no power in the economic relationship, to really just pick on him in front of everybody. It makes you look better when you're like, oh, respectfully, we don't need any of your stuff.
Yeah.
And we are going to take you over, and it takes time.
Yep. But even the way that Carney said, Canadians do not want to become the 51st state. Well, we got 2 provinces out west that are kind of saying maybe, yeah, we do. So Carney's being disingenuous because he like Trump doesn't see Saskatchewan and Alberta right now all gathering around going, okay, what does our future look like? Of course they know that we're doing this. So Carney is just there to lie. He's just there to lie. This is, it's crazy, kind of.
And he, I guess technically, thanks to voters in the eastern part of this country, he is the prime minister of the country, but you can tell that's a regional stranglehold on power. You can, we've balkanized completely. Liberals over there, conservatives over here. And then whatever's left of the NDP, they can get in a vehicle with third row seating at this point, and they seem to all be fighting with each other right now.
I do love to see it. I love nothing more when the left eats itself. Oh, I love nothing more when all of those oppression groups all just collide. It's amazing.
Ooh. It reminds me of the standoff between the pro-Hamas people and the Pride people on that street corner, and I was like, I'm just going to stand back here and cheer for mutually assured destruction.
You just Gotta love it.
We're seeing that right now in the NDP. Anyway,
Mhm.
AMT 60 gives us $5. I'm in Ontario and I'm thinking of moving out west next year. Lise, is Scott Moe planning on doing a
Oh,
separation referendum? How much is a house in Saskatchewan? Sheila, what are the cheap areas to buy a house in Alberta?
buddy.
Avoid the
Buddy.
cities at all costs.
Get on realtor.ca, and you in Ontario will die when it comes to housing prices in Saskatchewan compared to Ontario. Like, honestly, you can sell your 2-bedroom bungalow in Ontario and move into a mansion in Saskatchewan. I am not making this up. Like, come look at
Big mansion on
realtor.ca.
a lake.
I would be so happy to have you as my neighbor. But I'm so happy you asked about Scott Moe as well. So in Saskatchewan, the conversation is being driven by the woke radical left, and they are driving all of the narratives. They are insisting that Saskatchewan should be prohibited from even talking about this. Like Carla Beck, leader of the Saskatchewan NDP, has gone right off her rocker, right off the deep end on this issue, saying she wants Scott Moe to guarantee that there will be no talk, no debate, no votes, no referendum, no nothing. And I'm thinking to myself, what in the communist China level of bull crappery are we dealing with here? This is a woman that is so frightened by the big orange man next door. However, the people of Saskatchewan, okay, we are not as bargy and largy and big and in chargey as the people of Alberta. Okay, Alberta comes in swinging. Okay, every single time. Saskatchewan people are more sort of reticent about things like this. But don't think for one second that there isn't a boiling hot rage right under the surface. And we are going to be talking about this in Saskatchewan at length, because public opinion polls just came out 2 weeks ago, shows that separatist or Saskatchewan sovereignty is highest in Saskatchewan. We're even higher than Quebec, and we're even higher than Alberta. So the conversations are happening. Scott Moe says he wouldn't stop a referendum, but he stopped short of doing what Alberta did and Danielle Smith did next door in lowering the bar for referendum. Like, it's still a very high bar in Saskatchewan. So, the people of Saskatchewan may need to put pressure on the government of Saskatchewan to lower that bar. Yeah, because this is such a burning question here right now. Thanks so much for asking it and allowing me to to talk about it, because obviously you can tell it's a passion point of mine.
You know, it's funny. Kathy Shadle, rest her soul. She and I used to have this ongoing email thread where she would just send me the cost of a ramshackle garden shed in Toronto. And it was just like, what can you get for this this price point in Toronto? And I would match it with the price point from Alberta. Yes. And it was like, here's your McMansion on a lake for your haunted garden shed in Toronto. Yes. And the one in Alberta comes without ghosts. So like,
no, truly,
it's obscene. I don't know how anybody gets ahead in Toronto.
You can buy a beautiful house in Saskatchewan, like a drop-dead beautiful home in Saskatchewan, for the same price as Justin Trudeau used to spend on food on his international trips. I'm not making this up. Like, good-natured people of Ontario and Quebec and Eastern Canada, come now, come west. This is where the future's at. This is where you belong. Like, come. We just invite all of you guys to join us out here in the west. It's the best. Yeah,
but leave your voting habits behind, unless your voting habits vote for smaller government and more accountability. Please don't.
We're not taking lefties.
Alberta.
Yeah, we're not taking lefties at this time. So thanks so much for your application. But no, we'll keep you out there. But if you are freedom minded, and if you are prosperity driven, and you want to have a successful, awesome life that costs you so much less, come to Saskatchewan, come to Alberta. We'd be happy to have you. Yeah. This is, we should, somebody should put us in charge. Sheila should put us in charge of luring the good-natured Eastern Canadians out west, because we do such a good job. I mean, we love it. Obviously, we love it here. It's the best place on earth. And we need more like-minded people. So make your way, kids.
I remember when I was a youngster and Saskatchewan was living through the dark days of Romano. Oh. And Alberta had our Ralph Klein. It was a joke, but it was also true in a lot of places where 50% of the people in Alberta were from Saskatchewan.
everybody from Alberta was at some point from Saskatchewan. It's either a grandpa was from there, or my dad was from there, or everybody in Alberta identifies as a secondhand Saski. This is just the way of it. And to be honest, in my graduating class, like in our group of eight close friends, 7 of them moved to Alberta, and this was in the mid 1990s. So but we're happy to reclaim them. We're happy to have you back anytime, guys. So.
Okay, let's breeze through the rest of these. Spam bot fodder, $5. Carnage. Carney says Canada is not for sale because he wants to sell it to the CCP and the WEF.
Bro.
Yeah.
Bro, exactly that.
Carmen DL, I want to know your response to Carney saying he talked to the owners of Canada. What the heck is he talking about? The king? King Chucky is a figurehead and doesn't own Canada. I think he said, I talked to the people, like the people, we own it.
Well, if we own it, then you better start admitting that Alberta and Saskatchewan own their provinces, and then we should be having this conversation. Like, if you're talking about ownership in a place, okay, I'll take that.
If the people own it, then the people get to decide, I guess. So we'll do it his way. Schofield 10 gives us $5. Should Alberta and Saskatchewan decide to leave Confederation, don't be surprised to see a 1-for-1 Canadian to USD offer for citizens for those 2 provinces only. Trump will not want all of Canada. I mean, I talked about this with David yesterday. There have been no more overtures from the Americans to the separatists, except to say that we would love you, cherish you, you should be ours, you're beautiful, which is a nice thing to hear after being told that we're fringe radical extremists and should we even make space for them in society. So they've done none of that to us, and it is like at 1 in 3 Westerners are like, yeah, we could leave if we thought about it hard enough. Now, once you come in and have the Americans saying, you're about to be 30 to 50% richer.
I was so happy to see this comment, because overwhelmingly in public and private conversations that are happening in Saskatchewan, this would be the finisher. This would be what people would need to hear and be guaranteed. If it were one for one asset transfer from Canadian to American, you would see those numbers go up past 50 and 60% overnight. So I'm so happy that you brought that up. We got 30%, hovering over 30% in Saskatchewan, around 30% in Alberta, that are looking with absolutely no guarantees and no confidences at all. Just we would rather invite independence and deal with whatever comes of that, rather than live under the tyrannical rule of the existing government of Canada for 1 second longer. But you put an offer on the table of 1-to-1 asset transfer to American dollars and American citizenship, it would be a done deal. It'd be a done deal.
You know, my favorite, by favorite I mean least favorite, criticism from the people telling the separatists and the sovereigntists to shut up from Eastern Canada is, oh, it's too complicated, you guys can never do it, blah, 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 blah. I'm a generational farmer. I live on the land my family broke with their backs and their hands in 1903. We tamed, as Westerners, a harsh and forbidding land with nothing. Most people came here with nothing. Like so many of the Eastern Europeans just literally came here with the clothes on their back and looked for a homestead stake in the ground and said, okay, I guess that's where we're going to live, in a house made of grass. Through our first sod house, through our first winter, where it routinely gets to -40 with nothing. And so for people who are saying it's too complicated, it's too hard, it'll be too tough, do you forget who you're talking to and what we did here?
Yes.
Do you forget that?
Yes.
You underestimate us at your own peril.
Yes, you are talking to people who are the most rugged and resilient on planet Earth. It wasn't nothing to arrive in this place that had nothing, absolutely nothing,
0,
and to make a go of it, and to not only make a go of it, but to have children, to raise families, to tame the absolute wild prairie.
We took oil that was leaking out of the side of a riverbed and turned it into the economic engine of this entire country.
Mm-hmm.
It's something that the Americans are reliant on us for. You think we can't leave if we wanted to? If we chose?
Yeah. You think that we're afraid of a little negotiation?
Hard work?
Negotiation? Our family lived in a sod house continuously for 60 years. With no power, no running water, no indoor plumbing, 60 years. You don't think that we would be okay doing a little heavy lifting with negotiating? Are you out of your minds?
Every time I see somebody say something like that, I'm like, you're lazy. I get it. Right. Like, I get it. When you self-identify as lazy, I get it. But like, don't do it on the internet. That's embarrassing. But every time I see it, I'm like, oh, okay, you're lazy. Got it. I fine. Good.
Never
I understand.
Lived outside of a condo. Exactly. Never lived outside of a condo. These are people that haven't seen a day of hard labor in their entire lives. But no, underestimate the West at your peril.
And again, I take no position, but I will tell you, Albertans have been getting a raw deal, and they are going to decide their future, and nobody else.
That's right. Yep, Saskatchewan too. +1 for Saskatchewan. Thank you. Couldn't have said it any better.
Ditto from Saskatchewan. Let's hit an ad break. We got Premier Smith making a huge announcement yesterday, and I think striking the perfect tone. The sovereigntists are mad, the federalists are mad, so I think is probably exactly where she should have been on this issue. And she warned of the Doug Fords and the Warren Kinsellas of the world. So let's hit an ad break. We'll come right back.
Do you agree with me? It is time to make Canada great again. And that is why we at Rebel News have teamed up with MCGA Hats to introduce, the fashion sensation of 2025. Oh, and by the way, these beautiful hats, they are made in Canada. We don't rely on cheap imports coming over from China. So what are you waiting for, folks? Show your pride. This is the perfect thing for a patriot to wear, or maybe there's a patriot in your life that you would like to gift such a hat. Please go to mcgahats.ca. That's mcgahats.ca. Don't be shy about it. Wear this cap. Let everybody know you want to make Canada great again.
What if governments are trying to reinvent the wheel when the greatest teacher of all times has already laid out the perfect blueprint for a constitution for a kingdom of love, faith, and freedom? Introducing the Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport. This special edition Freedom Passport captures the foundational truths of love, ethics, and freedom for all. It's a powerful reminder of Jesus' call to love one another and to be part of something bigger that you can carry with you every day. Join the movement, share the truth, and spread the love with your family and friends. Get your Kingdom of Heaven Freedom Passport at freedompassport.ca. And right now, all orders in North America come with free shipping and a free downloadable song with every purchase.
Alrighty. Okay, let's get into Premier Smith's announcement yesterday. She basically made a list of demands to the feds, one of which is fair treatment with equalization. And she lays out how bad their bad policies have been for Alberta. And then she has to talk about separatism and sovereignty. And she said, anyways, we'll get to what she said about that. But basically she says, these people do not treat the separatists, even though she says she isn't one, like they are bad Albertans or disloyal, because they are loyal Albertans. But also she says to don't treat the other side the other way if they feel through some sort of misplaced nostalgia, and that's my words, not hers, that there's still something in this country worth fighting for. They are not disloyal Albertans either, and to not allow outside forces to sow division amongst us. So anyways, let's talk about the Liberals scaring away global investments from the West.
For the last 10 years, successive Liberal governments in Ottawa, supported by their new Democrat allies, have unleashed a tidal wave of laws, policies, and political attacks aimed directly at Alberta's free economy and, in effect, against the future and livelihoods of our people. They have blocked new pipelines with C-69, cancelled multiple oil and gas projects, and banned the very tanker ships needed to carry those resources to new markets. They have stacked an oil and gas production cap on top of a crippling industrial carbon tax, making new energy and agricultural projects economically impossible to pursue without massive subsidies from governments, which Ottawa has failed to provide and which our taxpayers cannot afford. This onslaught of anti-energy, anti-agriculture, and anti-resource development policies have scared away global investments to the tune of $500 billion, driving those investments and jobs out of Alberta and Canada to much more attractive investment climates in the United States, Asia, and the Middle East. Having traveled much of the world these past few years, it is evident that Canada is not viewed as an attractive place to invest in resource development, manufacturing, or agriculture because of our high carbon taxes, endless red tape, and the uncertainty and chaos brought about by these and other federal government policies.
$500 billion out of our economy.
$500 billion. And then you
see,
yes,
you see the CBC panelists today saying, it's going to cost over $1 million to run the by-election in Damien Curek's riding, and it's like, excuse me. We vaporized $500 billion and it cost $10,000 for Alberta's premier to go to Mar-a-Lago. And it's like, yeah, that's why we only have a 10% tariff. So I feel like that was a good return on investment. Thank you very much. That all of a sudden they become fiscal conservatives, real penny pinchers.
Oh, no. They Danielle Smith. Yeah, let's not forget that the CBC just got an infusion of $150 million just to keep the lights on, and now they're pointing out every $10,000 ding to the taxpayer. I mean, the duplicity that is happening at the CBC, the disconnect that's happening at the CBC, is just unreal. It's just unreal. But I think that again, Danielle Smith knocked it out of the park, just being so temperate. And like, whoever her speechwriter is, like, give them a raise. Like, can we borrow that?
They're going to teach this communication strategy in political science courses, I think, from yesterday.
It's absolutely brilliant. And I think that that's one thing that the government of Saskatchewan is not doing as good a job on, is they're not coming out on side and giving the people of Saskatchewan a voice the way Alberta is. They're not advocating on behalf of Saskatchewan the way that Danielle Smith is. And I wish that they would take a cue from what is happening in Alberta and do it the exact same for Saskatchewan. We need to hear these messages too. Everything that Alberta and Danielle Smith said in that piece is also true for Saskatchewan. This is a federal government that is bent on destroying the West, bent on destroying our economic drivers and our way of life. And I really wish that Premier Scott Moe and the government of Saskatchewan would be noisier about this instead of letting our gross opposition drive the narrative the way that they have been.
Next clip, Alberta will be taking steps to protect itself from the federal government. It's crazy to hear a province basically have to issue a restraining order against the feds.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah.
Yep.
We have fought these attacks from Ottawa furiously and have won some important battles, but the lost opportunities, jobs, and futures of so many Albertans are costly and demoralizing, as are the growing number of Eastern politicians who choose to openly demonize and target Alberta for political gain. That is why a large majority of Albertans are so deeply frustrated with the results of last week's federal election. It's not that our preferred candidate and party lost. That happens in a democracy. It's that the same Liberal government with almost all the same ministers responsible for our nation's inflation, housing, crime, and budget crisis, and that oversaw the attack on our provincial economy for the past 10 years, have been returned to power. Now, as we all know, one thing has changed. We have a new Prime Minister. And I will say that in my first conversation with him since the election, he had some promising things to say about changing the direction of his government's anti-resource policies. However, Albertans are more of a actions speak louder than words kind of people. So while I will in good faith work with Prime Minister Mark Carney on unwinding the mountain of destructive legislation and policies that have ravaged our provincial and national economies this past decade, until I see tangible proof of real change, Alberta will be taking steps to better protect ourselves from Ottawa.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. I mean, for anybody who's saying that this is just Albertans having a tantrum because their guy didn't win, that's not even close what this is about. This is about, and she's doing her best to try to make the rest of the country understand what it's like to be in Alberta when we just want to be allowed to work and do what's best. And you have the overreach of the feds telling us, no, you just cannot.
No, we know better than you. You must follow the science. You must believe what we believe. You have to be committed to our crazy green net zero sustainability goals. And when those crazy green net zero sustainability goals are in direct conflict with the industries that make us all the money, that give us our quality of life here. What she's trying to do is communicate in a really, I think, beautiful way that the frustration that Albertans and more largely Western Canadians are feeling is that people in the East knew the damage that you're doing to us in the West, and you reelected them anyway. So this is the natural consequence of that election result. I mean, you can't hold us in contempt for wanting better for our own selves after the decade of decimation that we've suffered through under the hands of the federal government. So it's beautifully put, I think.
She's not done. She said, we aren't asking for special treatment or even handouts from the feds. We just want to be free.
Mm.
That's the Alberta mentality, the Western mentality right there.
Yeah.
Albertans have always been loyal, proud, and generous Canadians. We love Canada. We have fought wars and died defending Canada. We've opened our doors wide for millions of our fellow Canadians searching for opportunity, many of whom stay and become Albertan, and many who return home to their native province. All have been welcomed with open arms. We don't ask for special treatment or handouts. We just want to be free to develop and export that incredible wealth of resources we have for the benefit of our families and future generations. Free to pursue opportunities with the ideals of entrepreneurship, hard work, and innovation that have become synonymous with the name of our province. Freedom to choose how best to provide healthcare, education, and other needed social services to our people, even if it's done differently than what Ottawa has in mind. Strong and free is more than just our provincial motto. It represents who we are and how we want to live as a people. And that is why Albertans are so frustrated with the direction of our country.
All we want is a little bit of freedom to decide for ourselves what's best. We're tired of having the elites from the East declare from on high what they think we need to succeed. Well, that's perfectly put, Danielle Smith. Well done.
We are different than the rest of this country.
Allow us to, without question.
Distinct society. Allow us to be different. We're not asking for special treatment. We're asking for you to get out of the way. That's it. We'll decide for ourselves. Now,
that's such a good point. That's such a good point, Sheila, because what it is the federal government forcing us into a cookie cutter that we will never, ever fit into. We have a distinct society in Western Canada that is completely and totally different from those in Ottawa. And maybe this, it comes down to Western Canadians being punished for our geography. Saskatchewan and Alberta are the only provinces that don't have access to ports of some kind. We are landlocked provinces, and we are being punished for our geography, our unique culture, and our way of life. And this is Danielle Danielle Smith saying, we want to chart our own path, and we want to be in charge of our own destiny here, and that's not too much to ask for, because it's not.
Because it's what Quebec gets. Again,
Right.
and we are in a different situation than Quebec in that we are not net takers.
Right.
Not only are we not net takers, we also don't want to tell the rest of the country what to do. We want everybody to do their thing, including us. Whereas Quebec, they're net takers within Confederation, and they want to tell us what we can and can't do. And that's not what we do around here.
No. And it's becoming more and more obvious, the disparity between the treatment of Quebec and the treatment of Western Canadians. And this is all, I mean, listen, it'll all come out in the wash. But Western Canadians are going to have to think long and hard about what they want their future to look like. And after 120 years of servitude to the Eastern elites, I think that we're coming to a pressure point real quick.
We've got Danielle Smith's solution. So I know that she's limited by what she can do within Confederation, but we're having another panel. It's called the Alberta Next panel, which will bring together experts in law, economics, and academia to discuss the future of the province during a series of town halls with the Premier. So this is not just the eggheads coming in. She's going to be there to answer questions and take the heat too. So it's not like she's offloading this mess onto somebody else. She's right in the thick of it because she's the leader, right? Like this is a unity crisis, and someone's supposed to shepherd the province through it. And since she's the Premier, who else is it supposed to be? But you very rarely see premiers even remotely involved in whatever panel they've convened ever. But here she is.
Go on. Yeah.
Our government will appoint, and I will chair, the Alberta Next panel. This panel will be composed of some of our best and brightest judicial, academic, and economic minds to join with me in a series of in-person and online town halls to discuss Alberta's future in Canada, and specifically, what next steps we can take as a province to better protect Alberta from any current or future hostile policies of the federal government. Details of the membership and scope of that panel will be released in the coming weeks. After the work of the panel is finished, it is likely we will place some of the more popular ideas discussed with the panel to a provincial referendum so that all Albertans can vote on them sometime in 2026. To be clear from the outset, our government will not be putting a vote on separation from Canada on the referendum ballot. However, if there is a successful citizen-led referendum petition that is able to gather the requisite number of signatures requesting such a question to be put on a referendum, our government will respect the democratic process and include that question on the 2026 provincial referendum ballot as well.
She just put an expiration date on how fast the government of Canada can respond to her requests. That's what she did there. What Danielle Smith possibly does better than any premier since Ralph Klein is actively listen to the people she governs. So when she's chairing this panel, she is going to be actively listening to the people of Alberta. She is going to be hearing their concerns. She is going to be distilling what they say and taking notes. And I wish Scott Moe in Saskatchewan would actively listen to the people of Saskatchewan more. We're suffering from a little bit of a break in the feedback loop in the province of Saskatchewan right now, where when the citizens of Saskatchewan speak loud and clear about issues, it's like our government just puts on headphones and chooses not to listen to us. This is a masterclass in how to deal with the population in your province, and nobody does it better than Danielle Smith.
And she's doing a really excellent job at threading the needle. So, people at home, do you really think a federalist premier who is part of a party that is a federalist party, even though they're provincial, they are not like the Bloc, they are not like the PQ, which are explicitly separatist parties. Do you really expect her to put separatism on the ballot? It's up to you, people at home, to do that. And she said that repeatedly. It's up to you, And if that is what you want to do, she is going to honor those wishes. She's saying, we're not going to run 2 referendums if we don't have to. We'll put your issue on our ballot too, so that everybody can vote on what they need in 2026. And for people who are saying she's not going to let us vote this year, it's already May. You don't have time. You don't have time. And you need an education campaign.
The worst thing that could possibly happen for Western Canadians, and this is where I caution us to be real careful about this, is putting it to a ballot too early and losing. Because if we put it to a referendum and lose the referendum, then we take away any negotiation that we could, or ups in the negotiation with the government of Canada. Where we're at right now is threatening to leave, and that's enough. That should be enough to put the fear of God in the Eastern elites in Ottawa. But the worst thing that we could do in Alberta or in Saskatchewan is to rush through this and lose. You must get all of your ducks in a row. You must have all of your people ready to go. We must be united in this. And right now it feels a little bit unorganized and a little bit nebulous. But I agree. 2026, I mean, that gives a year for the people of Alberta to get their ducks in a row. And I would argue the same thing should happen in Saskatchewan. Approach this very methodically.
You don't want to hold a referendum until you've done an education campaign, because people are right now saying, what about the First Nations? What are you going to do about that? What about...
well, the First Nations will be treated better than they have ever been treated by the government of Canada at the end. Like, it's all part of the negotiation.
Could it be worse?
As part of the Clarity Act... As part of the Clarity Act, First Nations must negotiate. So no part, if a referendum is called on separation, no party may bow out of the negotiations. Not the federal government, not the provincial government, not First Nations. All must negotiate. None of them can bow out. And there is an opportunity here for First Nations of Western Canada to strike so much better of a deal. They would be treated better than the federal government has ever treated them, ever. I mean, we have to have these conversations.
But that's the thing. That's part of an education campaign, because people are going to say, what are you going to do about the RCMP? And what are you going to do about the military? And what are you going to do about the pension? And what are you going to do about the debt? I don't know. That's Toronto's debt. It's got nothing to do with me. What are you going to do about the First Nations? So you have to, people are going to come with actual reasonable concerns. And the go side has to be able to answer those. And you need to make sure that all the objections, if you are on the go side, are answerable reasonably. And I think if you rush, this is my advice, if you rush to this, you will end this for a generation.
Yeah, without question, like with a great deal of prudence in this moment and careful consideration. But then, on the other hand, if Western Canadians weren't paying GST, if we weren't paying carbon tax, if we weren't paying federal income tax, if we weren't paying the multitudes of taxes that we pay to Ontario, we would be in such a strong economic position to be able to provide the people of Western Canada with the services that the federal government should be and only provide to Quebec and certain areas of Ontario. So all of these things are very, very exciting. But yes, this is not something a referendum should not be rushed into. Should not. Right. A 1-year timeline, perfect. That gives everybody a chance to get all of their questions answered and asked. And that's what Danielle Smith is offering here, is an opportunity to ask the questions. It's incredible.
Right. We are way over time, but there's a couple things I want to get to, including our daily dose of cringe, which I swapped out. I had 2 other selections on the ballot, including an MLA in BC saying we need to change like the funeral regulations so that people can be composted. But I found Alexa brings another one to the table to us. So we'll get to that one. I haven't seen it yet, but Efron assures me it's gold. And on these topics. So Premier Smith, next clip, addressing the growing separatist movement in Alberta in her speech to us last night. And she warns of the Doug Fords of the world. And then Doug Ford ran his mouth the very next morning, but we'll get to that too. So this is Premier Smith doing exactly what a leader should do.
Any citizen-initiated referendum question must not violate the constitutional rights of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples, and must uphold and honor Treaties 6, 7, and 8 should any referendum question ever pass. This is non-negotiable. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, that being separation. We are well aware that there is a large and growing number of Albertans that have lost hope in Alberta having a free and prosperous future as a part of Canada. Many of these Albertans are organizing petitions to trigger a citizen-initiated referendum, as I mentioned earlier. The vast majority of these individuals are not fringe voices to be marginalized or vilified. They are loyal Albertans. They are quite literally our friends and neighbors who've just had enough of having their livelihoods and prosperity attacked by a hostile federal government. They're frustrated, and they have every reason to be. None of us knows what the future holds should Ottawa, for whatever reason, continue to attack our province, as they have done over the last decade. Ultimately, that will be for Albertans to decide, and I will accept their judgment. But I am going to do everything within my power to negotiate a fair deal for Alberta with the new Prime Minister. And while doing so, our government will work with Albertans on various initiatives to better protect Alberta's provincial sovereignty and economy from Ottawa should those negotiations fail and the economic attacks continue. Alberta didn't start this fight, but rest assured we will finish it and come out of it stronger and more prosperous than ever. In closing, I want Albertans to know how important it will be in the coming months for our province to be steadfast, unified, and to refrain from heeding the voices of those seeking to divide Albertans against one another. There will be many outside, and even inside this province, who will try and sow fear and anger among us. They will seek to divide us into different camps for the purposes of marginalizing and vilifying one another based on differing opinions, effectively pitting neighbor against neighbor and Albertan against Albertan. This is not the Alberta way. It's not who we are, and it's not who I am. There are thousands of Albertans who are so frustrated with the last 10 years of Ottawa's attacks on their friends and families' livelihoods that they feel Alberta would be stronger and more prosperous as an independent nation. That is an understandable and justifiable feeling to have, even if we disagree on what to do about it. These Albertans are not traitors, nor should they ever be treated as such. They just love their province and family and want a better future than the one Ottawa is offering them right now. There are also thousands of Albertans that are so attached and loyal to their identity as Canadians that there is nothing Ottawa has done to our province that would justify Alberta leaving Canada. It's not that they think everything is perfect or that we've been treated fairly. They just believe being part of Canada, despite those problems, has much more value than leaving. These individuals are also loyal Albertans and should never be accused of being anything less. And then there are hundreds of thousands of Albertans that probably feel a lot like I do, that are deeply frustrated with the way our province has been mistreated and damaged by successive federal Liberal governments and are not willing to tolerate the status quo any longer. But these Albertans still believe there is a viable path to a strong, free, and sovereign Alberta empowered to succeed and prosper within a united Canada. A Canada where the federal government actually honors the Constitution, upholds provincial rights, and empowers provinces to pursue their unique potentials as their people so choose. Regardless of what each of us believes about this issue or what path we think is best, we as Albertans must be able to respectfully debate and discuss these issues with our friends, family members, and neighbors. I know that if we do that, in the end, our province will find the best solution for this immense challenge we face and come out of it stronger and more free than ever. I'll always put my faith in Albertans to find the right path. I trust you. May our beautiful Alberta always remain forever strong and free.
Well, I got goosebumps all over. I've got tears in my eyes. She couldn't have said that any better if she tried to point out that there's a certain segment of Albertans who are understandably and justifiably done with what's happened in Canada, to point out that there is a great number of Albertans who first identify as Canadian and then Albertan, to say that there are people who are going to be all over the spectrum, but that we must be good neighbors and to talk it out, to decide what's best for Alberta. It was perfect. It was perfect, Sheila.
Yeah. I mean, she laid out that there are 3 camps: people who are done, people who are still going to try, which is her, and people who, no matter what the feds will do, they are attached to their Canadian identity. And that's okay, because we all form the fabric of Alberta. And she was right to point out that there will be people from outside who are trying to sow division amongst us.
Yes.
And to paint some of us as extremists. And that goes both ways.
Jason Kenney. Jason Kenney. Yeah.
Doug Ford.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that exactly was a shot at Jason Kenney, who's basically saying those people are fringe radicals. She is saying they're not fringe radicals. In fact, they were probably members of Jason Kenney's base when he got elected first to premier. And how dare you crap all over them? And also, that is a masterclass in communications that we never heard from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. She called for unity over division, to not marginalize people who share different opinions, to encourage civil discourse amongst us to get through our shared problems. You can tell she's trying to be a premier for all of us instead of just some of us.
It's
unlike
incredible.
the Liberal government. Yeah.
It's incredible. While at the same time putting an expiration date on how far her how much leash she's willing to give the federal government. What she's giving the federal government is a set of demands and requests from the people of Alberta, and literally telling them, if you don't show up in this moment, you better expect some hard feedback and some hard decisions from the people of Alberta. And that's exactly what she should have done. Again, I wish that we would have done the same thing in Saskatchewan, given the federal government our list of demands, given them, I wouldn't have even given them, a year, Sheila. I would have given them 10 days to comply or else. But she's being extraordinarily careful in this moment, as she should be, and putting all of the cards in the hands of the people of Alberta. It's clear that she has a great deal of love and respect for the people of Alberta, and she trusts them to make the right decision on their own behalf. So just beautifully done, Danielle Smith.
Now, speaking of the horrible interlopers trying to sow division from without the province, we've got Doug Ford, who is apparently angry at Danielle Smith for saying this is our future. We're going to decide it together, and we're not going to hate each other at the end of the day for it. Apparently, that's an objectionable opinion for a leader to have.
This would be the same for Carla Beck in Saskatchewan too. NDP leader Carla Beck.
Yeah. Let's hear from Dr. Cheesecake, Doug Ford.
I forget about political stripes, by the way. We have a prime minister down there, and he's going to be sitting down, and he's going to give it everything he can. This is a time to unite the country, not people saying, oh, I'm leaving the country, or I'm doing this, I'm doing that. United we stand, divided we fall. I forget about.
Great.
Listen, you canned ham. Listen to me, you canned ham.
Man is a canned ham. Yes.
It is. Now is not the time for you to be preaching about national unity after backing up a government in the federal election that did its level best to destroy our way of life in the West. Okay, now is not the time. What Doug Ford is saying there is that he doesn't trust the people of Alberta or Saskatchewan to be able to be smart enough to make decisions that are going to benefit them or work out in their own best interest. What he's saying is Alberta and Saskatchewan should set aside their own priorities and keep supporting the Ontario Eastern-centric way of life that he's become so accustomed. That's what I'm hearing there.
He makes me want to suck on my teeth like Mark Carney meeting Trump. Like, I don't know what it is, but let me tell you, Doug Ford, you are the problem. Like, how do you not understand that Westerners don't want to hear from Ontario politicians about what we should and shouldn't be doing? That is quite literally the problem.
That is the problem.
And then say it. You are
Yes.
the problem. You just did
Yes.
the thing. He did the thing.
Yes. He did. He's actually doing the thing without the self-awareness to realize that he's doing the thing. I said the other day on X, I, for one, am so sick and tired from these elite politicians who tell the little people, okay, what we can or cannot think, what we can or cannot do, and vilify us for going against their malevolent orders from on high. I am sick of this, and Doug Ford was just gave us such a perfect example of that. Perfect example of that.
Albertans are mad because we're done being told to sit down and shut up by Ontario politicians, and then an Ontario politician says, "You know what you should do about that? Sit down and shut up."
I mean, but you know what? Do we think Doug Ford has the ability to have the self-reflection needed
No.
to be able to see that he just did what we're saying we're done doing? Like, we are in Western Canada, we're saying we are done getting screwed. We are done getting screwed by you. We are going to have a voice in this, and if it takes threatening and or leaving Confederation, well, then we're up for that. Okay, this is where we're at. And only to have Doug Ford lumber in and be like, "Okay, guys, stop talking."
No, I
now.
know what's best. I know what's best.
I know what's best. Oh, just the best. Keep yapping, like, Doug. Keep it up, bud.
Doug Ford, we're literally mad because of that, and then you come out and give us some more of that.
Yeah. How about you just keep it to Ontario? How about you just stay in your lane, Doug?
Yeah.
How about you keep it to Ontario?
Ruin Ontario. We're fine.
That's right. Keep it on the provincial level in Ontario. Stop interfering in Western Canadian issues and stop interfering on federal issues. You stay in your lane, Doug, and we won't have a problem. You keep veering outside of it into ours. Well, I do believe there's going to be a pushback against it.
All right. We've got some more. We've got Jim Brown chat saying, "You two ladies are terrific." Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Haven't had your fill of us, we're on again tomorrow, same time, same place.
Yes.
CC Ramsey gives us $6.99. Canadians are not for sale because China already bought it. That's what this is all about. Carney looks like he could cry. Yeah.
I'm not arguing with that. Not at all. No, that's nothing but the truth. Thanks, CC Ramsey. Thanks so much.
RC Lamoureux gives us $5. Danielle Smith is doing her best Jason Kenney. No, I don't know if you're following Jason Kenney on X, but she is so far from Jason Kenney. In fact, that last little clip that you saw could have been started with "Dear Jason Kenney," and then she could have read the rest of it because it was directed right at him, saying, "Look, Albertans are going to have their say. And they are not radical for thinking and feeling the way that they do." So I think
he's being so divisive and so corrosive and so toxic. It makes one wonder what Jason Kenney's motivations are. That is how, like, the way that he's talking down to regular Albertans, it feels like he's taking his revenge upon Albertans right now who ousted him in COVID. That's what it feels, just like a whole truckload of sour grapes.
Crazy ex-girlfriend stuff. It's crazy ex-girlfriend stuff. He has to stop.
100% toxic. Yeah, 100% toxic. Well, I think we just have to stop listening to him, Sheila. And the crazy thing is, but he brings up all of the ways that he's built a career fighting the federal government. And it sounds to me like I, for one, believe that Jason Kenney is seeing his lucrative career go poof up in a cloud of smoke if Alberta chooses to separate or become more independent. So
also, if he were successful, we wouldn't feel this way.
Right. That's exactly right. Thank you.
The sentiments of Albertans are emblematic of his failure on these files.
That's right.
Anyways, RC goes on to say, she's saying all the right things, but you won't be able to hold her feet to the fire. You need God. She's chairing this panel. So I think she's going to get an earful from a lot of people.
She also lowered the eligibility requirements for referendums. And so listen, that includes recall of politicians like Danielle Smith. So she's actually making it easier for people
if you don't like her, get going.
If she
Get going.
exactly right. So I would argue against that comment, but you're right about needing God. I think we all do in this
Right.
moment.
RC also gives us another $2 and says, another panel, more delays, more hoax, all liars. Look, I think we both shared our opinions about why you shouldn't rush into this. If you disagree, that's okay too. We're Albertans, and our premier said it's okay to disagree.
Yeah. And we do, like, at this moment, I will, like, in defense of the panel, listen, I know we've had panels about other things, and this is sort of one of the go-to ways that politicians kick the can down the field. But in this case, because it is such a complex issue, because we have so many overlapping initiatives that would go into making a really good decision, we have to be able to get expert advice on the fly. And so this is what I see this panel is Danielle Smith has set it up so that you will have legal advice on the fly. You will have academic advice on the fly, and you'll have her listening to it all as it happens. So I don't see this as a bad thing. Listening to the people that you serve is never a bad thing. And so maybe let's just write it off as it's not like the other panels. It's a different kind of panel.
Yeah, it's not Kenny's panels of yore.
Yes. Yes.
We in his strongly worded letters to Justin Trudeau, who probably just looks at comics.
We're a big fan of writing strongly worded letters here from Saskatchewan too. See my strongly worded letter to the federal government. Okay, well, it's going straight in a paper shredder is what's happening in Ottawa. So.
Anana Awake gives us $5 and says, and I'm just reading this, I have to be careful. Talking about election fraud is one of the things that can get you demonetized on YouTube. Yeah. So Anana Awake gives us $5 and says, I'm perplexed. Why is no one pushing Elections Canada to audit the election given, and I'm just going to say what we know. Are we again going to sit down, shut up, and accept Trudeau's puppeteer won this election? I actually think he probably did win it fair and square, although with the help from China.
And the mainstream media. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nana Away. We know that you're one of our major super supporters, and thanks so much for that comment. But these are all things that we should be thinking about for sure as Canadians.
Yeah. I mean, we voted in this last election not knowing who the 11 I guess we could put it together, but without any sort of intellectual curiosity on behalf of the mainstream media, who those 11 parliamentarians were, who were the beneficiaries of foreign interference. We don't know who they are.
Imagine getting
$2 billion
a year and not sending one person to figure out who those people are. It's egregious. But like so many things in Canada that have happened over the last several years, it's just like we'll add it to the humongous heaping pile of things that don't make sense and yet continue on like they should. I still got questions about how Mark Carney became the leader of the Liberal Party. I still got questions about that. And now he's the Prime Minister. I'm like, this is upside down world. This continues to be upside down world.
Yeah. I mean, I know who one of those parliamentarians is. It's Senator Victor O. He was a conservative senator, and the Conservatives told on him. So that's how we know the rest of them aren't liberals, are liberals, is because when it was the Conservatives, they were telling on themselves. They're like, hey, that guy that we can't fire that's in the Senate, someone should really look into him. So anyway. Let's keep going. Munch gives us $6.99. How does it feel to be told to sit still and be quiet? Now you know how the West and independent media feels. I guess that's directed towards Mark Carney. Yeah, how he had to just sit there with Trump while Trump ran the room. That's sort of how we're told to behave in Western Canada, and we're not doing that.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah. We're done getting screwed.
Yeah, that's such a good URL. DoneGettingScrewed.com.
It really is. It really is. But the most shining and hopeful part of it is that we can find a way to get ourselves unscrewed. We can unscrew ourselves, Western Canada, and after 120 years again of servitude, that sounds a lot better than an infinite amount of time of future abuse by the federal government.
Whatever happens, it's got to be better than this.
Yeah,
whatever happens, it's got to be better.
Yep.
Nana Wake also says, I'm not calling for civil war or any level of violence, but for him to announce capital gains on our homes and his climate over our basic needs in his first week, what's his next draconian move? Yeah, although if you get all your news from the mainstream media, they're talking about how Carney is going to be some sort of fiscal conservative. So there's that.
Well, that's how they're positioning him. Is they're positioning him as the guy that's going to not be as extreme as Justin Trudeau, because I think even on the left, with the polls leading up to the election for 2 years, Justin Trudeau's government was on the radical extreme left end of the spectrum. So
yeah,
if
who was
Mark
advising
Carney,
them? Who is
Mark
advising
Carney.
them?
Mark Carney. This is all just political posturing. They are making it look like he is a fiscal conservative, make it look like he's somewhat more of a social conservative, and make him more appealing. Make no mistake, they know that Western Canadians are eyeing other options, and they are making Mark Carney look as palatable and as attractive as possible to those potential Western voters. So don't fall for it, Western Canada. Don't fall for it. It's all smoke and mirrors. Yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors.
There was something I wanted to talk about, but we'll leave it for tomorrow because we're way over time on the CBC ombudsman. They were terrorized by regular citizens who had absolutely had enough of CBC's debate, but also general election coverage.
Just confounded. Wow, we got a record number of complaints during the election.
Yeah,
why.
I bet you did, because you did a record number of BSs.
That's right. It's actually hilarious. Let's get into it tomorrow.
Yeah, we'll talk about it tomorrow. This is a question or a comment from yesterday. It's from Memory Hole. Gives us $20. We showed a Dylan Mulvaney singing clip, and I was like, in no way, shape, and I know. And I was like, David, do not get us demonetized. And David did his very best, and we were safe. But Dylan Mulvaney was singing, and I was like, look. I was like, is that a cat hitting a baby? What is that noise? Like, what is that noise? But yeah, remove the filters, the plastic surgery, and the auto-tune, and you have, not what we see before us. Anyway, Memory Hole gives us $20 and says, even after a few dozen Bud Lights, I still see a dame with, to paraphrase Bob Fife, a Pierre Polyev. And that's a joke from yesterday.
I get you, Memory
We get
Hole.
you.
We get that one. That one is accurate and hilarious. Thanks so much.
Today's Daily Cringe, which is the closing segment of the show when I am hosting.
Prepare yourselves.
I have not seen it, but Efron assures me it's good, and apparently it's on point. Alexa Lavoie was out on the streets of Ottawa, and she encountered this man from The Hangover? Is that the guy from The Hangover?
Where's the baby strapped to your chest, sir? Where is it?
Anyway, so she asked the guy from The Hangover some questions, and Efron assures me there's cringe in here. So let's all watch together.
Okay.
How did you react when you heard Danielle Smith yesterday saying that she wants fairness in equalization payment?
Yeah, I think she's a very silly, unserious person. She's off doing PragerU things for the States and on our tax dollars. She spent $10,000 going to Florida of Albertans' money. I don't think she's serious. I don't think we should be taking her serious.
How did you react?
Okay.
Okay, CBC.
This guy is worried about my money. This guy's worried about how Alberta's money is spent. You're in Ottawa.
Paying attention to your own backyard for a quick second. Look at him. What is he doing with his head? What is he doing with his hand there? Is he holding his brains in? I think that's what he's doing, is he's trying to hold his brains from falling out the back of his head. But
she's a very silly person, this man says about Danielle Smith.
Yeah, well, this is a CBC viewer, though. Like, if you want to see a classic, completely captured CBC viewer, look at this knit sweater. Look at this. This is what it looks like. Like everything about him just turns me off. Like every
I do
single
like the
thing about him
sunglasses. I
turns
would
me
wear
on.
those sunglasses in a heartbeat. I will tell you that much right now. But I enjoy my obnoxious, stupid sunglasses. But yeah, he's worried that Danielle Smith spent 10,000 of Alberta's tax dollars to go to
And talk
Florida
to Ben Shapiro.
make the case and to make the case
Yeah.
to Americans why they should like Alberta and save us from 25% tariffs, which she did, and it only cost $10,000. Again, pretty good ROI, by the way. But that'll be the goddamn day that I listen to somebody from Ontario telling me about my tax dollars being spent. You guys are the ones gobbling them all up. You guys are all, again, once all of a sudden, penny pinchers. They're just... whatever.
Everything. No, I just maintain everything about his poncho wearing disheveled, like his beard looks like it has little small animals living in it. Everything about that man
wearing a
sort of
lanyard
turns
like
me
he
off.
went to work. He's wearing a lanyard though, so he's at work. This is how he went to work, like this.
Oh, this is like a federal government worker. Is that what you're saying?
And I shouldn't talk because. Yeah, this is a federal worker. And I shouldn't talk because I was like, is my pocket falling off? Yes. But this is whatever. I shouldn't talk. I realize I'm being a hypocrite on this issue. But this man is at work. And he's like, yeah, Danielle Smith is wasting too much of Albertans' monies. No, please don't be offended on my behalf. Thank you. I'm fine.
I bet that lanyard isn't a work lanyard. I bet it just has his name on it so he can remember what it is. That's what I'm going to say.
His bus
poncho
pass.
and his poncho, his bus pass, his poncho and his sweatpants and his bedraggled beard. Ugh, ugh. Oh, there's the cringe. There it is. You guys just had a full body cringe. Ooh.
Nothing cringier than an Ontarian telling us to shut up. That is cringe. Okay, I think that's it. We went way long, like almost 2 hours today. Thanks everybody who pitched in to keep the lights on here at Rebel News. We could not do it without you. Thanks Olivia, Efron, everybody who works to put the show together, Lise. Thank you. Thank you for coming on this wild ride with me.
The pleasure is mine, Sheila Gunn Reid, as always, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Same place, same time tomorrow.
Can't wait. And as my friend David Menzies always says, stay safe and stay sane.